Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Levi for Amped Up Sports. Peter Blake, we're on field level for the opener. South Florida, BYU. South Florida in the green, BYU in the white. Peter, let's talk about the keys to the game. What's the first one?
The first one is Yuri Bohannon, the transfer from Baylor. Can he get off to a great start for this USF offense? We heard the kid get on a local radio station and say he wants 40 touchdowns, so we'll see if he can get this offense together.
You know what? And one of the other keys for USF is defense. We got to see how Greer and Boyles do. They're two inside linebackers. This is a big key because they got to stay in the game, don't they, Pete?
Absolutely. You talk about staying in the game. Your quarterback has to be protected by the offensive line. And like I said, it's going to be a big-time key today for this USF offense. Can they keep Bohannon upright?
Yeah, last year we were out in Provo. It was 21-0 like that. That can't happen today.
No, it can't happen today. And I tell you right now, once again, it's all about the energy of this team. I'm buying into Jeff Scott. My prediction is USF with a huge win over BYU today at Raymond James Stadium.
I'm calling the same thing. I'm thinking it's going to be high-scoring USF 45-42, maybe even in overtime. Leo Haggerty for Amped Up Sports for Peter Blake.
Yes,
check us out after the game. Go Bulls!
Go Bulls!
Merry Christmas. Say, I love football. Say this. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Tampa. Tampa. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Oh my God, she's so smart and she's so precious. I love her to death.
Video.
Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Where's Uncle Peter? I call him.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a happy
Hump Day
edition of the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Only 4 days away from your Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Dallas Cowboys in Big D. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready?
How about them Bucks, baby?
All right, so let's get it started. 3 things. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Jason Powers on Sports podcast, talking about what else? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the opening of the National Football League season, which takes place tomorrow night. The LA Rams, Super Bowl champion versus the Buffalo Bills. And then, of course, all the stories around the league, maybe even some college football after that. We will talk with, hopefully, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News about his fantasy football team, his thoughts on the National Football League and, of course, the Bucs. Yes, I do care about your fantasy football team here on the Sports Web. And, of course, the open phone lines are here. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So without further ado, enough with the intros and all the commercials and everything else. Let's get out to him. Mr. Jason Powers, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, as we're only 4 days away from Bucs versus the Cowboys. And you are muted. So let's unmute you. And he is muted. So you've got to love live television. We'll get him off there. We'll see if we can get him back on here in a moment. Let's go out to some of these comments. Let's go out to Jeremiah. So is Tom Brady really playing? Yes, he's really playing. Yes, he is playing. No, he is not retired. No, he is not hurt. Yes, his game and his heart and his mind is in the game. Okay? Can we get that out of the way? Tom Brady is the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No matter what the national media says, no matter how many talking heads from ESPN or Fox Sports or locally or all around the world, Tom Brady is the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's not going to be a Miami Dolphins starting quarterback. He's not going to be starting for the San Francisco 49ers. He's going to start for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can I get that out of the way now? Are we good? Goodness gracious, are we really talking about this? We started off the show with that? Come on, Jeremiah. Goodness. I mean, he misses, 11 days, and everybody's saying the whole world's about to end? 11 days of training camp. He's the greatest of all time. He's going to be the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday night. All right, let's come out to him. Let's go. Let's go out to Jason Powers. Powers on Sports Podcast. Welcome. How you doing?
What's up? Having a little technology problem.
That's all right. I'm used to that. It was like 3 weeks, a technology problem with the computer. I wanted to take the laptop and throw it to the window. It took me forever to get it. I finally got it, and now here we are. So,
real quick, before we get started.
Yes.
Training camp's over. Preseason's over.
Is it?
I got to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What's up with shaving the beard?
The beard had to be shaved, do something new, do something a little bit different. It itches. It's hot out. It's about 155 degrees every day. It's like my kitchen on Saturday night. Everything burns, all right? That's the reason why I had to get an air fryer in the first place. So I got tired of maintaining it. It was time to shave it. And now I feel, and people are like, why'd you shave the beard? I had a family member today. You look lost without it. What do you mean I look lost without it? I'm still here. I'm still the same person. I'm just, look a little bit younger at this point. Now, there's still a little bit of gray, but there's not as much gray at this point. And speaking of gray or stress.
Look out, ladies of St. Pete and Pinellas County, baby.
Hey, listen, I'm single. I'm 43 years old. Make no mistake about it. That gray beard make me look like I'm 65 years old? No, I'm 43 years old. I'm single. Absolutely. I'm all about it. And I'm all about football season. And I got to tell you right now, I'm pumped up because we're 4 days away from Cowboys and the Bucs. And still, I hear national talking heads. I hear fans talking about Tom Brady missing 11 days of training camp. Can you put this to rest, Jason Powers? Welcome to the Evolution.
Happy wife, happy life. I mean,
that's it? That's all you got?
Apparently, there's been some rumblings in page 6 of the New York Post that Miss Giselle ain't very happy right now.
Well, look, the football season's going to continue. It doesn't matter if she's happy or not, but do you really think that's going to be a major distraction for this season? I guess it comes down to, look, if the Bucs get off to a slow start versus the Cowboys or this schedule, because it's a gauntlet of games. The first 4 games, you have the Cowboys, you have the Saints on the road, both of those road games. Then you come home, you face Aaron Rodgers, who's had his own troubles off the field. We can get into that a little bit later if you like. And then the Kansas City Chiefs. So it is a gauntlet of games to start the season. So I guess, look, if the Bucs do get off to a slow start and Brady does get off to a slow start, then people will point to that. But if the Bucs offense is a lot better than it was last year or as good, nobody is going to talk about those 11 days that he missed in training camp, right?
How did Tom Brady look in the one drive at Indianapolis? Pretty good to me.
Flawless.
Pretty good to me.
Right.
Tom Brady, those 11, and remember, Buck fans, he left on a Thursday, came back the following Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they weren't going to practice on Friday. It was the day before the game. They weren't going to play on. He wasn't going to play on Saturday. They were going to have Sunday off. So those days are useless because he didn't miss anything. The same deal. They went to Tennessee the following week, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those were the only 2 practices that he really missed because, again, they weren't going to practice the day before the Tennessee game. They weren't going to. I'm sorry, the day before the day before the Tennessee game.
Sure.
They weren't going to. He wasn't going to play against Tennessee. They weren't going to practice the day after Tennessee. So of the 11 days, he legitimately missed maybe 3 practices.
Yeah, he missed 3 practices, and I heard Harry the Greek got on
Hit
here.
his arm.
Right.
It's just 11 more days of less throws on the arm and the shoulder.
Right.
What did he effing do?
Right. And what Harry's point was, and I point this out because he's my co-host of this show sometimes, is he feels like, he's the leader of the team. He shouldn't have necessarily left. There's not a lot of people that, leave the team. But again, at the end of the day, if it was checked out with the Bucs before,
it was negotiated before him to come back and unretire. That was the deal.
Right. All right.
If you think he just popped that on the Buccaneers in the last month, you're crazy.
I agree. Jason Powers on Sports podcast there. Let's go out to some of these comments. Go out to Roger. Hey, Pete, gonna be a great show. Let me fire those cannons for that. Let's go out to E-Rock. Man, can't wait till Sunday. I can't wait until Sunday.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Jeremiah says hello to everyone. Jeremiah, again, we know, but Giselle says he can't play. Look, I'm not going to get into that because I don't know the personal relationship between those two. I just know that Tom Brady more than likely is going to be the starting quarterback of the Bucs on Sunday night.
More than likely.
It's going to be the quarterback.
1,000%.
Right. He's going to be the quarterback, okay?
The whole year. Tom Brady is not pulling the ripcord in week 8.
Jerry Jones owns the Cowboys. That he does. Ralph says, I heard Tom Brady slipped on a banana peel and is out for the season. And this is what you get for that. Stop spreading fake news because these webheads out here will go crazy. Facebook will go crazy, and they'll start to run with that. Nikki Bug says, I love the shave. Thank you very much. There you go. Let me.
The ladies like it. Ladies like it, Peter Blake.
You got to give the ladies what they want. I'm sorry. And you also got to give the person who's doing the shaving what he wants because he's tired of it. All right. TV ready. Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate it. And no beard. Absolutely. All right. First injury report was released, and it looks like Chris Godwin, it was a full participant in today's practice. Newcomer receiver Russell Gage, hamstring was limited and was running back Giovanni Bernard. Julio Jones got a day of rest. His comments on the other day on the podcast basically said in so many words, I don't know if I'm going to play. Nobody knows if I'm going to play. The grand scheme of things, it's not necessarily how I start. It's how I finish because all the time I missed last year. In your opinion, do you think Chris Godwin plays on Sunday night? Should he play on Sunday night? Why or why not?
I don't think he's going to play.
Okay.
I think they're going to give him another week, maybe 2. I think at the end, 2 more weeks max at most, unless there's a setback of some sort. I think the Bucs want to take the long view here. They don't want to rush him back. You brought in Julio Jones for this exact reason. He's the perfect insurance policy. You've got enough depth. That's the one position on that roster that you have plenty of star power.
Well,
Julio,
it is.
Mike. If Russell Gage plays, great. If he doesn't play, then you can plug in. Then you put in Scotty Miller more touches. And what I've talked to you about, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs go more 2 tight ends this week against Dallas and get the running game going a little bit with Rudolph and Braid at tight end.
Well, and I definitely think that's a possibility. And you look at the Dallas defense overall trying to stop the run. I think Leonard Fournette could be that guy. And we had one of our web heads here, Misador, who's mentioned he believes that Lenny's going to go off on Sunday night in tune of over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Do you think that's the matchup to watch for this team on Sunday night versus the Cowboys, the running game with Leonard Fournette?
I mean, I think you definitely want to be as balanced as you can, especially early in the year. Again, remember these guys haven't had a lot of reps, so you don't want to be running 40 pass routes where a receiver might, more likely to pull a hamstring, pull a groin when you're running 40 routes and you're running a hurry up offense where if you're running the ball more, it's more, you put it more on the offensive line, not as much wear and tear on your receivers and tight ends as far as route running. But yeah, I definitely think that Fournette's going to get probably 20 carries. I think you'll see some Rashad White in there he'll get a handful of carries. Maybe even a Keyshawn Vaughn gets a couple carries. But yeah, in a perfect world, you want to get Gedeke and you want to get Hainsey comfortable. Much easier for those younger guys to run block than it would be to protect Tom Brady 40 dropbacks.
We're on with Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast. Of course, No Quarter Given podcast on the BuckPower.com network. As we do that, we talk about the history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and also the week's matchup. We broke it down, so go check that out on all the major platforms. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's talk about that offensive line. Much has been made about it. Tom Brady came out on his Let's Go podcast and says, basically, I hope they're listening. It's going to be a challenge. I hope they're listening to all the pundits tell them they're not good enough. He believes they're going to be okay. How do you see it? And were you surprised that a rookie in Luke Gedeke is now your starter at left guard?
Well, he's probably the guy that kind of won the job out of default. Leverett got hurt. Obviously, Stinney got hurt. So he was the guy. Remember, he's a second-round draft pick. So you expect good things out of this guy. Maybe is he quite ready to play today? I think he probably could play if he has to, and he's got to play now. So, yes, they wouldn't put him out there if he wasn't ready to play. I mean, he's got to have shown them enough mentally to know the scheme, to physically to be able to hold up that he's ready to play. Sure. Is he going to make some mistakes? Sure. Is he going to miss some blocks? Probably have a holding call here and there, especially in pass protection? Sure. But I think he's a big, rugged guy. Again, we draft him in the second round. You expect second-round players to play pretty quick. So I think he'll do okay. He'll be fine. And again, if they were really that concerned, you would have seen a move made by the Buccaneers either through the waiver wire or a trade made after the training camp cuts occurred.
Now, of course, we got Shaq Mason yesterday, took a restructuring and freed up about $6 million. Yep. So could that lead to a move, or are they saving that money for Gronk down the road? We have talked about this on the No Quarter Given podcast and your podcast, Powers on Sports podcast. You believe that Gronk is coming back. Did that basically signal that yesterday with that restructuring, in your opinion?
Well, that's one of the options. So again, remember, it's a great move by the Bucs, freeing up some cap space because one, let's say 2 weeks into the season, the offensive line's not doing well. You have to have some money to be able to go trade for somebody. And if you're going to trade for somebody good, those guys are usually expensive. So you want to have $6 or $7, $8 million. So if you have to go trade for somebody, you can do that. And again, I do think Gronk's going to be back by Halloween. I think you're going to see him late October-ish, 1st of November. A limited season. I don't think he wants to play a full year if he plays. So I think that's about the time frame you're going to see him. But yeah, that's a smart move. And there's other veterans on that roster that if Gronk decides to come back and they need to make a trade for a lineman, they'll be able to free up some more cap space with some of the veterans that are making a lot of money and just restructure how those guys get paid every week.
Jason, is your biggest worry this offensive line? I mean, is that the biggest? I mean, it's always the point of contention with keeping Tom Brady upright, but are you concerned about this offensive line?
I'm not. I'll be honest with you, because the guys we're plugging in there, Hainsey and Gedeke, are high draft picks. It's not like these guys are street free agents that we're hoping and praying. These guys have pedigree. They were drafted high for a reason. They've been in. I mean, Hainsey's been in the system for a year, so this is year 2 for him. I know a new position for him, but really, they were grooming him to be the center at the last year because all thoughts were that Ryan Jensen may not come back at the end of the last year. So they were grooming him all last year to be the incumbent center to replace Jensen had he not resigned. So I think they're going to be fine there. Brady's great at getting the ball out of his hand. You're not going to see a lot of 7-step drops out of Brady holding the ball for 3 and 4 seconds. So he's going to be fine. I think we're going to be fine. Again, is that the highest of the priority list? Probably, but I want to see what the secondary does. To me, that's the number one position on this team I want to see make a jump is the secondary.
We'll get back to that moment. Let's go out to the Marine here from Tampa calling the evolution of sports talk television. Mr. Ron, welcome. You're on with yours truly along with Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. What do you have to say? 4 days until Bucks versus Cowboys. Go.
Man, oh man. What a time of year. Hey, how you doing, Jay?
You got to get a little bit more pumped up here because you put me to sleep. We got 4 days until Cowboys and the Bucks. Come on, let's pump it up, Marine. Come on, Devil Dog.
Yeah, man, let's do it. So, I like some of the stuff that you're giving us, Jay, and the secondary I know is going to be key, and hopefully we can stay healthy. There's a couple things I'm very curious to see too. I like the fact that we brought back Carl Nassib.
Okay.
I really think that him and Anthony Nelson can really play a key role in those vital spots on the end positions, and things could be worse because we could be like the Giants and have Thibodeau out for 4 weeks. Luckily, we have injuries to the line with Jensen out, but I think Godeke is going to come in there and play solid. I think he can do it. I think that the center position, I think that our center can step in and make it happen. And I think Bowles is a smart guy, and but here's the thing, we get emotional, we get caught up in the game, so we can't get too high on a win and too low on a loss.
Say that again, please. Because I need to record that statement because you being an emotional guy, which you're not showing on this phone call right now, which I don't understand, but you get emotional. In fact, you get into my inbox and say, man, are the Bucks going to be, they had a bad preseason. This team is not going to be good. I got a feeling they're not going to be good. I was like, just relax. It's preseason. If they lose a couple games, it's okay. You got the greatest of all time. So I got to record that statement, but say that again for the fans out there that are in the back, Ron.
Bucks fans we can't get too high on a win and too low on a loss.
Okay.
Because the first month is going to be tough. I mean, there's no give me's, and anything can happen, and you're dealing with a lot of elements in this game, and injuries and things like that. Hopefully we'll stay healthy, but we just got to stay behind them. I mean, we have a great team. We have a good GM that was kind of at one time was we didn't know what his fate was, but Jason has done pretty good at bringing together a pretty good team and bringing in big time players, and they have they've just done an amazing job. And Todd Bowles has got experience. He played.
You think there's some drop off with him being the coach this year? You have any concerns of that at all?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel, Jay, but I don't see any drop off.
Jay, how do you feel about this? Let's talk about Todd Bowles here, Ron. Hold on a minute, Jay. How do you feel about Todd Bowles being the coach now? Any drop off?
No, the only thing I wonder is I want Todd to be aggressive. I don't want him to be every time it's 4th and 2, you're punting. Again, do I want him going for it every single time? No, but hopefully he's going to be aggressive. Most defensive coaches sometimes get a little conservative sometimes, but I think with Brady, I think he's going to trust Brady and Leftwich. They're going to be a little more aggressive than he was maybe in his Jets days because he's got a better team. So you can afford to be a little more aggressive. I want to see Bowles be aggressive, go for it on 4th and 1. If you're in plus territory, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, don't punt. Let's don't be kicking 55-yard field goals. Let's go for it. And I think you'll see some good moves. And again, Bowles calling the defense, managing timeouts, managing challenges, things like that. Those are all things additional responsibilities that he didn't have as the DC.
Yeah, and that's the key at the end of the day, Ron and Jason. Of course, he's not the defensive coordinator anymore. He's not only calling some of the defensive plays, most likely, but he's also managing everything else, and we've seen that not work out. And look, the same situation is going on with the Saints, right? I mean, they lose Sean Payton, and now you have Dennis Allen taking over. So we'll see how that works out, of course. But, what's the biggest thing you're looking forward to on Sunday night, my friend?
Oh, no, I mean, I just want to see him come out and play. I want to see the defense I want to see the defense put pressure. Again, this is a matchup you have a lot of advantages here. Only one legit weapon for the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let Micah Parsons ruin the game on defense. If you block him, have him in your sights, know where he's at, and Brady's really good at that stuff. But again, they're going to be scheming to try to isolate, Micah Parsons against either Hainsey or Gedeke potentially. Don't give up the cheap sacks and don't turn the ball over. I think they're going to be fine. I don't think Dallas can score more than 21 points on the Buccaneer defense.
Ron, what about you? What are you looking forward to this year, and not only this year, but on Sunday night?
I'm looking for continuity to where our line can hold up and at a consistent level. And, Brady is a master at the game. So, if they're putting pressure on him, he'll find a way. And we have plenty of weapons. So it's going to be exciting. And I am completely 100% pumped. Man, I can't wait. And I want to see that defense be aggressive. I want to see them, if they're going to blitz, throw some stunts, mix it up, disguise coverages. Which Todd Bowles does very well. I mean, he's known for that.
Mm-hmm.
He is a grandmaster at disguising coverages and luring quarterbacks into throwing into zones where, the ball could either be incomplete, picked off, and we got to execute. The ball's in the hands. We got to pick it off. We can't give up. Like Jay said, you can't. You have to be aggressive. We can't allow one player to ruin the game. You got to block the guy, and you got to play hard-nosed football, and I just wanted to know what you guys think about Rachaad White. Do you think it's possible? Maybe not the first year here, but do you think that man could be a cowbell? I mean, he can be participate this year and do some things. Jay, Pete.
I'll go out to Jay first. Jay.
Yeah, I definitely think they like him. They want to see. They're very high on him in the preseason. He has a couple really nice runs in the preseason. He can catch the ball well. They seem to think he's very capable mentally of picking up the offense. They call him an old soul, that he's got that grinder mentality. And he's come from a tough background. So he's had some adversity already in his life and his career. I think I read a story, maybe he lived in his car for a little while, and he was at junior college before he went to Arizona State. So he's been through the ringer when it comes to getting to this point. So I think he's a guy that you're probably not going to have to worry about getting in trouble off the field. And I think they like him. And it wouldn't shock me if he plays well this year, if Leonard Fournette's not here after this year.
I certainly think it's possible because Fournette, he could play this year also because he's second string. I think he's definitely going to be involved in the game plan with pass protection. They like his catching skills. I mean, we remember Herman Edwards. He compared him to Marcus Allen. Of course, he likes to be compared to Le'Veon Bell. If he's anything like Bell, then the Bucs got a steal there. But at the end of the day, definitely think he's going to be in the game plan. And if Leonard Fournette gets hurt, as we know he's done in the past, then he'll definitely be a big part of it. What is the negative?
Or let's don't forget, we don't need Leonard Fournette going to Golden Corral either too much. He likes to.
I agree.
He likes to go a little munch a little too much.
A lot of that. There was huge. That was a huge story before, but really overblown. But I agree with you on that. Definitely. Keep him out of the all-you-can-eat buffet, that's for sure. All right, your biggest concern, Ron, and then we got to run. What's your biggest concern for this Bucs team?
Man, that's I like that question. I think it's early. You said we haven't really seen, the season hasn't began quite yet, but I would say my main concern is can we hold up without key injuries?
Mm-hmm.
And if we do, can the second man step up, or can the offensive line step up on the other side and fill in for those guys that are hurt? And that's going to be the key. Consistent football, maintaining control of the game, moving the football, picking up first downs. Don't special teams. Well, actually, one of my concerns. I'm sorry. I just remembered because I know it's one of Todd Bowles' concerns, and who's our special teams? I had his name on the tip of my tongue.
Keith Armstrong.
Yeah, the special
Keith Armstrong.
Yes, Keith Armstrong. That's a concern because they were looking for gunners, and I don't think that was an effective tool that we saw too much in the preseason. So let's see if we can clean that up and get because special teams is a lot more key when it gets down to the nitty gritty and football. I mean,
how many
inches, so.
How many wins did the Bucs have this year? And then we'll let you go on that.
Man, 12, at least 12.
Okay,
13.
So 12-5.
13 wins.
All right, good stuff, Ron. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Definitely call back. All right, my friend.
How about them fucks, baby?
All right,
I love it.
good stuff there, Marine. Appreciate you as always. Thanks a lot for the call. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to the web.
Hey,
Yes.
Can I add something here?
Sure, go ahead.
Special teams. The Bucs struggled in the return in covering kicks in the preseason. Some of that's because of who was in the game at the time, but special teams, especially in week 1 and 2 of the National Football League season, is typically a big factor. Dallas ran a punt or two back in the preseason for touchdowns. They've got the kid who was the USFL MVP as their kick returner, punt returner. So my concern is the coverage units for the Buccaneers on the punts. We saw Camarda. He sometimes would outkick the coverage with some low line drive kicks. That is a concern of mine, especially on the road Sunday night.
And we know you're a kicker because you used to kick for Florida State. You happy with Suckup over Borregales?
Yep, I do. I want the guy that I'm reliable from 48 yards and in, 50 yards and in. He's not going to kick a 55-yard field goal, but those are the situations where, again, I think you'll see the Bucs go for it. If it's 4th and 3, 4th and 4 from the 37, 38-yard line, those are the spots I'll definitely see Bowles go for it more and the Buccaneers go. But, yeah, you want the guy that can make the 40, 45-yarder like he did last year to beat the Cowboys at the gun.
All right, good stuff there. Let's go out to these web heads. Let's go out to Jeremiah. A woman like Giselle has a lot of influence. Ralph says, I want to let everybody know I'm an unemployed comedian. All right, good stuff there. Rick says, Leo says they're pounding the rock, and Leo would know Logan Ryan will be a beast. Logan Ryan, what do you think about that move? Of course, they cut him, but it was a roster move. It
Technicality.
Right. It was a nice technicality because they were able to keep Ryan Jensen, and eventually they put Ryan Jensen on the IR. If they did it before, then he wouldn't have played for the whole year. So there's an opportunity for him to come back, and then they re-sign Logan Ryan. But what do you think about Logan Ryan? And, of course, Jeremiah has lots of concerns about this secondary, namely a Carlton Davis.
No, I mean, I like Logan Ryan. He's had a proven career. He's played with Brady before. He's a guy that can play safety. He can play nickel corner. He's very smart, so he'll understand the defense. He'll be in the right spots where he's supposed to be, and he's still athletic enough to make plays. There's a difference between knowing the defense, but yet being athletic enough to make the plays when they're there to be made. And Logan Ryan's that kind of player. He'll be a good addition for that Buccaneer secondary.
And I think also, to Jeremiah's point, this secondary has to do a better job of having those turnovers, capitalizing, if you will, on catching those interceptions when they're there. So I understand where he's coming from, and also staying healthy, right? I mean, we keep on going back to it, Jason. They weren't fully healthy last year. I feel like when they get healthy, they were a different defense, and if they can stay healthy, I'll tell you what. Let's go out to Cooper here. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Jason Powers on Sports podcast. What do you have to say here?
Oh, what a pleasure. What a pleasure. You got the Coop with the scoop here.
Oh, the Coop with the scoop. Okay. What do you got tonight, Coop?
Okay. Well, we're going to be focusing on the big game on Thursday. Okay. We've really, I've done some due dilly here, and I've put some little tidbits together, and I really think that it's going to be. It may even turn out to be an instant classic.
Well, no, hold on a minute now, Coop. Are you telling me you're like a professional handicapper or something? Is that what you're telling me? Because we got somebody on the show already.
No, I would never ever go to that that length. But I'll tell you, I do have some. I definitely have some feelings on some games here that
all right,
that jump out at me.
Okay,
I'll tell you. And
go for it.
Thursday night, I'll tell you, let's get this party started right. Let's get this party started quickly. Okay, you got we got some great matchups in that game. You got the Aaron Donald, Josh Allen matchup, and as far as I'm concerned, Josh Allen, as you know, he did not lose that playoff game. Okay, he unfortunately was going against Mahomes that was just ridiculous. He was just off the charts that game. I mean, 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes of that game.
Yes.
And Josh Allen has got to be itching to get back out there on the gridiron. And he is the prohibitive favorite to be the MVP for good reason. Okay.
So
he did
hold on a sec. So you like Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I mean, how do you feel about this game, Jason? Lots of hype here. Of course, they lose Brian Daboll to the New York Giants. He's now their head coach. Kenny Dorsey, of course, former University of Miami quarterback, taking over as an offensive coordinator. How do you feel about this game? Bills versus the Rams.
Everybody says Buffalo. Everybody says Josh Allen's going to do this and do that. Hell of a player, no doubt about it. I would take the Rams and the points at home.
Wow. Okay. He's going to take the Rams and the points.
I would. You have an elite defensive line. You have Jalen Ramsey at corner. The Buffalo defense is going to be without Tre'Davious White for a little while still. I think that's a tough ask for Buffalo to go out there and win. If gambling wise, I would take the Rams at home in the points.
And to that point, and I think I kind of see Coop's point here with the Buffalo Bills. They have Von Miller. He's not on that other sideline for the Rams, so
exactly.
That's a big. But go ahead, convince everybody out there why they should take the Rams or the Bills. Excuse me, take the Bills.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were talking. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Well, first off, I mean, there's no denying. I mean, Matt Stafford, he's got the number one target in the game. You got Cooper Kupp, and he's going to get his, of course. I mean, no denying that. But you do have now. Here's where I feel this is the matchup that I think is actually going to be the deciding factor in this game. Okay, it's the Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Diggs matchup. Okay, yeah. Diggs has been shut down in the past. Jalen Ramsey has absolutely slammed him shut. I mean, he only had 2 receptions out of 4 looks, went for 9 yards and a TD. Nothing to speak of. But I think this is his coming out party. I think Stephon is really going to be the deciding factor in this game. That's my personal take on it. I think it's a close game. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle, whereas everybody does feel there's going to be a lot of points. I feel it's going to be, believe it or not, I actually cannot argue with taking the points because I personally think it's going to come down to. I love the money line. I can't see the Bills losing the game, and I will lay the 135 as opposed to laying 2.5 points. Because the worst thing that I just hate the games on the Mondays, the Thursday nights, and the Sunday nights because it always seems that one of two, if not both, come down to the last 2 minutes. As you know, it's either the spread, the total, or C, all of the above. Okay, and it just seems like it's choreographed that way. You know, for whatever reason, it just always seems to play out that way. And I just feel you're looking at a 24-23 game. I really
24-23 game, and you're in favor in the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, right?
Yes, I am. Yes,
okay.
And the under.
Okay,
yes,
and the under.
Money line, and the under. So
money line and the under.
Points.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think you may have 2 winners here. You could actually have 2 winners here. You could have the 2.5 points.
Yeah.
And you could also have, that's my personal take on it. But
okay. All right. Good stuff. What else is popping out at you with these games on week 1?
Peter, let me give you one. A bet I like.
Okay.
2-team teaser, 6 points. Tease down Baltimore with Joe Flacco starting for the Jets. Tease down Indianapolis. Just basically both teams just have to win the game. Indianapolis is at Houston. Matt Ryan's debut. I love Indianapolis and Baltimore 2-team teaser together.
How do you feel about those games? I mean, Joe Flacco, supposedly the revenge game, of course, Flacco and his past winning I believe it's 2012, right? 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. Last player to do that in the postseason was Joe Montana, but a totally different story now. Flacco starting on the other side for the Jets. Jets versus the Ravens and Colts versus the Texans. 2 slam dunks in your opinion?
I personally don't have much of a take on either one of those games.
Really?
Quite frank with you.
Why is that?
I'll tell you the truth, because the Jet game, I don't know. I understand, the revenge factor, but I just do not like the Jets, and I can't see. I think that could be a close game. I mean, he may keep it tight.
Okay.
I'll be quite frank with you. He might keep them in the game.
And the Colts and Texans, you don't think that's a blowout?
I don't have an opinion.
Okay.
Oh, that. You may be onto something there, but it really, if I had my druthers, there's just some other games that jumped out to me a little more. That's all.
Okay. What are those other games, Coop?
I love the Vikings this week.
Okay.
Okay. I think that they get the job done. I think Cook is going to get his yards. And I think he's going to be the deciding factor in that game. I don't think he'll be stopped this week. I look for Cook to really run it up.
Peter, I'll give you an upset special.
Okay.
Arizona getting 6 points at home against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Getting 6.
That's a lot of points.
That is a lot of points.
For a team that made the playoffs last year with the weapons that Arizona has and the defense that Kansas City is bringing to the table, I would take the 6 points all day long with the Arizona Cardinals.
All right.
See, me, I find it tough to go against Mahomes, period. I mean, because that guy on any given day with Kelsey, I mean, they could just light it up and they could win by 28 on any given day.
Well, I'm wondering
what
what the impact of not having a Tyreek Hill, and I'll still say that that's one of the toughest divisions in football, that being the AFC West with the Raiders, of course, the Chargers, the Broncos now with, Russell Wilson. That is a very, very tough division. So I'm not sure what the impact is going to be on Mahomes. We got Dennis Phillips coming in here, so we'll get you out of here in a moment, Jason. But go ahead and finish up here, Coop, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah. I just want to touch on my best bet actually is the over in the Raiders game.
Okay.
With the Chargers. That's the game itself. It's going to be nip and tuck. I think it's going to be a slugfest, and I really do look for both teams to light it up. I mean, even though the Chargers, they do have Khalil Mack and they got Joey Bosa, of course, there, and they got a great, the great pass rush. But I just feel that it's going to be a slugfest.
Okay.
That's my personal take on that. I think it goes over. I don't know, way over, but it's going to cover the nut there. You're looking at 55, 60 points in that game, I say comfortably.
All right, Coop, do you have an opinion on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Vegas is saying 11.5 wins, under or over, and why?
I got to go. It's tough to fight. It's tough to not feel that they're going to get it done. I mean, this is, I'm going over in that. I say barely over. I'm saying 12. I think
12?
that's the number, actually.
Okay.
I think it's going to land on 12, right on the number.
All right. Good stuff. As always, my friend, keep on calling the evolution of sports talk television. All right.
Hey, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And you guys have a great night. And always remember to forget about it. Bada bing, bada boom, squid bop, shabadoo. Okay, gentlemen?
All right. Thanks.
Night.
Thanks a lot,
You
Coop.
got it.
Appreciate you. All right. Jason, we'll get you out of here on this. Your final thoughts on Cowboys versus the Bucs. In fact, give me a prediction this year, over or under those 11.5 wins, and why?
Right, that is right on the number, because I could see the Bucs at 11 with potentially week 17 not meaning anything in the standings, depending on their playoff position. I'm gonna say 11-6.
11-6.
They got a tough schedule, man. You look at that schedule. They have some gauntlets they have to deal with.
All right, so good stuff there, Mr. Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Once again, go ahead and promote yourself here on The Evolution.
Yep, 3 podcasts that I host, Powers on Sports. You can see the sponsor. We just added a great sponsor to the podcast platforms that we're doing. No Quarter Given, which you and I are going to host every week. That's all things Bucs history and previewing the next game and reviewing the last game. And then Florida Football Insiders, all things college football in the state of Florida, part of the College Gridiron Coast to Coast Podcast Network. So check them out. Video content for all of our interviews is on my YouTube channel, Jason Powers Sports Channel on YouTube. So love to be on with you anytime you need me, Peter.
Absolutely, my friend. Thanks a lot for the time. As always, Powers on Sports Podcast, Mr. Jason Powers, thanks a lot for being on The Evolution, all right?
Peace out. Bucs 30-21, by the way.
All right, there you go. Good stuff there. 30-21. Let's go out to these comments, and then we'll get out to our other guest, Mr. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Jeremiah says, just try on. I guess he's saying JTS shall be good. I guess Rick says, I'm worried about Todd as the coach. He sucked with the Jets, but he had no Brady there. Absolutely. Jeremiah says, I'm still skeptical of our secondary. I don't think CD lives up to his contract. I think that's what you're talking about. Leonard dropped some pounds. He did. Sandro Nagel says, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web on Amped Up Sports. I love St. Pete and the Hub. Jeremiah, just defense, the Rams alone. Jeremiah, Matt Ryan, no question, and Rick again. Rays win 77 wins this year. They beat the Red Sox tonight 1-0. I know this fella right here loves the Rays, so let's go ahead and go to his intro. Here we go. Mr. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, only 4 days away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Dallas Cowboys and only 1 day away from real football happening, the Rams versus the Bills. Welcome to the Evolution. You've got your Rays hoodie on. I got to ask you, how impressed are you with this Tampa Bay Rays team with all the injuries and possibly catching the Yankees with one of the biggest choke jobs in Major League Baseball history? Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I was just going to say that. Is it really the fact that the Rays have been playing such exceptional baseball or that the Yankees have just completely tanked? And I just don't think anybody saw that coming, as dominant as that team was in the first half of the season. I mean, Stanton getting hurt, obviously. Everybody's got injuries, and the Rays obviously have had their share. I mean, obviously Wander Franco out for a long time and now kind of a flare-up again, so it's not looking very good for him, at least short term. But the team finds a way to win. I mean, that's the bottom line. With a bunch of no-name players, with a bunch of no-name pitchers, and they somehow, in the American League East, they still find a way to win. So it's really impressive that they're able to. And you're right. If the Yankees choke, I mean, and that's really what it would be. If you're a Yankee fan, there's no other way to describe it. When you've got a 15-game lead and you blow it, and again, they haven't yet, but boy, there's a lot of Yankees fans right now who are very unhappy with the way that Aaron Boone and everything else is going with that team.
Would Aaron Boone be fired on I mean, would they pull a George Steinbrenner there and basically just fire him before he gets to the press room at that point if they blow that lead in the last day of the season? Because I feel like that's what's going to come down to, right? It's like it could be one of those years, and I'm trying to think, was it 2011 where it came down to the last night of baseball where the Yankees had the big lead? Of course, the Rays come back with Evan Longoria, and then Baltimore takes care of Boston, and then, of course, the Rays playing the wild card. Do you think it could come down to the last day of the baseball season?
I mean, they're 4.5 games out right now. The Yankees have won 3 in a row. The wheels have not completely fallen off, and you've got that kind of offense like they do. You just have to wonder. I mean, all you got to do is get to the playoffs, and I don't even think home field advantage means as much as it used to. I mean, at the end of the day, the Yankees have a superior roster to the Rays. They just do. I mean, but the Rays find a way with the way they work their pitchers, the way that they do everything the Rays have to do. And it's amazing to watch. It is, because, I mean, you look at the Yankees roster and it shouldn't even be close. And by the way, everybody's forgetting, well, they're not forgetting about, but everybody's talking about the Yankees. The Astros, as much as it pains a lot of people to say, the Astros and the Dodgers are probably the 2 best teams in baseball. So, will we see an Astros and Dodgers World Series? Probably.
Bunch of cheaters.
Probably.
Not the Dodgers.
Exactly.
The Astros. The Rays getting healthy at the right time. Tyler Glass now ready for a rehab start. Looks like Wander Franco also, of course, some concern there with his shoulder impingement. That would be Shane McClanahan. I mean, how do you think the Rays will handle this? And then we'll get to Bucks and Dallas on Sunday.
The way they always do, the next man up. I mean, it's a hockey term in a lot of ways, but it's certainly the way that it is with the Rays. They just find a way to work that pitching staff the way it needs to be done. Like you said, McClanahan going down didn't really bother them. I mean, they use their bullpen in a way that it has been helpful. And it still amazes me that bullpen with a bunch of no-names still can find a way, and not just against poor teams, against teams with some hitters, and they still find a way to perform. So it's exciting to watch. I mean, do I have, realistic thoughts that the Rays are going to make it to the series? I don't. I think Houston is that good of a team, and I think the Yankees probably could turn it around. I mean, because it doesn't matter what they do in September. It matters what they do in October. And if they get hot in the last week of the season, then that's a team that's also tough to beat. So I love watching it. It's a great time, but I will tell you, you're talking about the Bucks game against the Cowboys. I have not even looked at a betting line or anything in this entire week because I just had my 7th fantasy football draft.
Wow.
It just finished about 10 minutes ago, and my mind has just been focused on drafting. It has not. I literally have not even looked, other than I think what are the Bucks a 1.5 favorite? I can't even remember.
You do know what you're talking about. They are a 1.5 favorite over the Cowboys, of course, and Big D on Sunday Night Football on NBC. But you got to tell me about your draft. How did you do in this one? I mean, what was your pick? I think you told me off air it was number 12. So
Yeah.
Looking at it, 12 and 13, who were your 2 first players in the draft? And what's your overall team? Because, unlike a lot of sports talk shows would say, I don't care about your NFL. I don't care about your fantasy football. I do care about your fantasy football team. So tell me about your team. How did you
Well, if people don't care about fantasy football and they do sports, they're an idiot.
Right.
Because fantasy football is one of the main reasons that the NFL is doing as well as the NFL is doing. Do you really think a lot of folks are going to be watching these games that are meaningless, especially if you're not if you're not a gambler or you're not a big fan of a particular team? Do you think anybody cares about the NFL? Probably not. Fantasy football, fantasy sports in general which is why the NFL and MLB and the NBA and baseball all have relationships now with DraftKings, with FanDuel, with fantasy sports, because they know what a moneymaker it is and how much people are interested in it. And I get it. Sharing people's rosters on air isn't the sexiest radio or TV. I totally get that, and I kind of agree with it. But at the end of the day, there is a huge, huge interest in it. Now, me personally, my last 2 drafts, I had the last spot. I'm in Todd Wright's fantasy league, and I think I was like the 11th pick in that one. And then in my other 2 leagues, I was the 12th and the 12th, the last one. So, in fact, I'm looking at my grade. NFL gave me an A for my grade, but only an 8-6 record. And the actual line, it says, when a bottom half draft slot yields top half results, that's the sign of an adept GM. So I'll take that as you don't have access to Jonathan Taylors. You don't have access to most of the great receivers, the Derrick Henrys or the Christian McCaffreys or whatever. You got to kind of work with what you got. Me, I probably made a huge mistake. I'll probably end up being 0-14 or whatever the heck it's going to be. I'm old school and I like running back. So by the time it came back because there is so much wide receiver depth out there. I mean, right. I think a lot of folks now are done with their drafts since the season starts tomorrow. But to me, my strategy was, man, I can get a good wide receiver in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round. So I went Kamara and Barkley or Javonte Williams. Wow. And Javonte Williams got snatched up just before I had a chance to get him. So I went Barkley and Kamara. I think obviously a lot of folks, whether or not he gets charges filed against him. The difference is with Kamara, the difference is with him is there's no Taysom Hill out there sniping all his touchdowns within the 5-yard line, which is what happened in previous years. The last couple of years, you get Hill out there, Kamara's numbers dropped. It isn't because he's not the same back. It's because Taysom Hill was trying to score all the time inside the 5. With Jameis back there, Kamara's going to get a lot more action. And I'm a Saquon apologist. I am. I know I am. I admit it. But you've got the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator is now with the Giants, right? He's the new Giants head coach. Uh-huh. So all of a sudden you've got a little bit more variety in the offense, and this is a contract year for Saquon. So if there was ever a time that the guy comes up big, which he did years ago before his injuries, I think this is the year. So at that point, I went with 2 big-name running backs, and then I started grabbing receivers mid-rounds, the Darnell Mooneys, the Elijah Moores, the Gabe Davises, I got Kyle Pitts in the 4th. So, I'm really happy with my receivers. I think there's a ton of mid-round receivers. By the way, look at last year. Let's see, Cooper Kupp, 5th round. Jamar Chase, 6th round. So, there's always some good receivers, some great receivers that you can get in those mid-rounds and they can make your team. But you know as well as I do, and this is my last thing I'll say about fantasy. Fantasy championships are not won at the draft. they're one on the waiver wire.
That's
period.
it. That's it. That's where they're one. And you never know. There's going to be a player that's going to step up that you pick up at the right time. We're on with Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News talking about fantasy football. I'll tell you about my draft. I got the second pick overall. Of course, the guy that had the first pick is this guy. And he took Jonathan Taylor. He's like, I don't know what I should take. Should I take? I wanted to tell him to take, Christian.
It's not a question.
Right.
No, you take Taylor.
He took Taylor, and Christian McCaffrey was on the board, and I looked at the projection, and I was like, no, because I took him last year, and he got hurt. I took Derrick Henry with the first pick. Then I went back. I got CeeDee Lamb from Dallas. Then I got DeAndre Swift. Then I also drafted Leonard Fournette. So I got 3 running backs at that point. I still got Chris Godwin. I got Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, and
you got a lot. You just listed 5 guys that have injury issues: Henry, Johnson, Swift, Godwin, and I get it. I've got Barkley and Kamara. So I mean, but the one thing I will tell you, this is my personal opinion about Henry. Man, he has had a lot of carries over the last several years,
right?
And you just gotta wonder if maybe this is the year that you start to see that
decline. Yeah.
Yeah. But you talked about waiver wires. I won last year. I won last year's league. I was in the 2 that I won, and both of which I won from a waiver claim. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, you got a guy who nobody knew much about, and he just blew up right in time for the playoffs, and that's why you win. So for people who have bad drafts or ones that maybe the Yahoo or ESPN or NFL says, you got last year, my team that I won, I got an F grade. I was supposed to be 0-14, and I won the whole league. So don't even look at those algorithms. They're meaningless. Look at do your thing, stick with it, follow on those waivers, because waivers, I'm telling you, injuries and waivers are far outweigh anything else that can happen with your draft selections.
All right, Dennis, we got a question from you from Rick. Dennis, can you see the Yankees or Red Sox or big market team taking cash away from the Rays one day? There'll be a lot of fans out there that would like Cash to go away as a manager, but say whatever you want to about his decision-making. He continues to get it done. The Rays continue to win games even with a low budget. So could you see that, Dennis? Could you see Cash going to a big market team? Much like Joe Madden did with the Cubs, much like Andrew Friedman did with the Dodgers.
I was just going to say 2 words, Andrew Friedman.
Yep.
Because you got a guy who loved the 2%, the guy who loved to make it work. But did he love it, or did he do it because he just had to? It's like the whole Billy Beane thing, when he went from Moneyball and Boston offered him all that money, which he turned down. But at the end of the day, are those guys do they really thrive in having to do it the way they do it, or are they doing it out of necessity to keep their job? And if they had a choice, wouldn't they rather just start spending the money and getting all the best players? I think Friedman is your answer right there. And I think but do you think that a Yankees team would want to have a manager like a Kevin Cash who has shown an affinity to making questionable calls that have worked? But in New York, do you think the fan base in New York would put up with that? I personally don't think they would. I think there's a lot of apathetic Rays fans, a lot of apathetic baseball fans in Tampa. I hate to admit it because I'm a huge baseball guy, but I think there are a lot of fans like that. In New York, you don't get away with that stuff. In New York, if he had pulled Blake Snell in a playoff game like he did in the World Series, do you think he would get out alive?
No.
I mean, that's just not what you would do in New York. So I don't even know if Cash would want to go to New York. He's got a great gig here.
Yep.
He's making plenty of money. He's a local boy. I mean, why would he want to go to New York to know what he would be in for? And the same thing in Boston for that matter. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Good question, Rick. And your opinion is valid here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television's Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News here. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about on the Evolution live on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. With that being said, I know we're still talking baseball, but I got to get your opinion. Ohtani or Judge as your MVP, and why? And then we'll get out to the Bucks.
It's how you define MVP. I mean, and I've always had that debate with people. Are they the most valuable player to their team, or do they have the best stats?
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that's an important question. Ohtani started out on fire, great dual threat player, obviously. But Judge is doing it on a bigger stage. Well, I don't know, bigger stage. Yeah, bigger stage. It's New York. Although I would argue Ohtani worldwide is probably getting more notice because of, who obviously his interest in the Far East. So personally, in my opinion, I think I'd probably give it to Judge, even though I respect what Ohtani has done probably more, because to be able to do what he has done is something that rarely, if ever, you have seen outside of old school baseball when pitchers would hit and do a great job, Babe Ruth. But I would probably still find myself seeing the New York media winning out and Judge probably winning it. But you're right. You can make the argument for both. You can I think the Yankees are fighting for a playoff spot. What are the Angels doing?
They're not doing much of anything at all.
Right.
Exactly right. But the thing is, he not only hits home runs, but he's also a great pitcher. And like you said, we haven't seen this since Babe Ruth. So you're exactly right. But Judge may eclipse the real record, by the way, which is Roger Maris, not Barry Bonds, not Mark McGwire, not Sammy Sosa. I don't care what anybody says. He may eclipse that record. So that is something unbelievable in itself. With that being said, much has been made about Tom Brady, possibly the distractions off the field. How concerned are you, Dennis, with him missing those 11 days in training camp? And are people making too much of a big deal about this?
People just like drama, man. You know that.
Yep.
People like drama. And it makes them feel better about themselves, or whatever the case may be. There's just something salacious about a famous person, maybe having some issues in their personal life. And again, maybe they feel better about themselves because of it. I don't know. I don't care. I could care less about what's going on off the field. A lot of people do. Well, that's fine. But at the end of the day, do I think Tom Brady is going to be ready to play against Dallas? Do I think that those 11 days had anything to do with anything? No. In fact, I think it probably was better for him, because why does he have to beat himself up for 11 days in the Florida heat when he just doesn't need it? The guy isn't basing his success on pure athleticism. He's basing his success now on experience and savvy and athleticism. But the guy, even while other stuff's going on, he's keeping himself in shape. I think it has nothing to do with anything. And I don't think it'll have anything to do with how that team plays. I think there's bigger fish to fry with that team, with the injuries that they've had on the line, with Chris Godwin trying to come back. I mean, I don't know how they're going to perform, but I don't think Tom Brady being gone away from the team for 11 days has anything to do with anything. If it were a quarterback maybe that isn't respected, or maybe a player that might create some tension in the locker room, oh, can you believe so-and-so left? And there can be some animosity. Nobody is going to give Tom Brady any grief over what happened, because he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Is your biggest concern, other than Tom Brady, of course, I think it always comes back to this line protecting him. And there's been lots of changes. Of course, Ali Marpet retiring. You got Ryan Jensen with the injury. You've got a rookie in Luke Gedeke starting at the left guard. Hansey starting at center. Is that your biggest question mark with this Bucs team in 2022? If it's not, what is it?
100% it is. 100% it is. And I think they're going to try to rely more on Fournette. We'll see how that plays out. Rashad White's a very capable backup, I think. As a matter of fact, I picked him up in several of my drafts, because if Fournette gets hurt, you got a guy who can step right in. But I think there's no doubt the offensive line is the key to everything, because they've got all the other pieces in play. Godwin, even if he comes back in this, he'll be back. But even if it takes the second half of the season to get into where he needs to be and where he was before, that's okay, because they've still got Mike Evans. They've still got Julio Jones. They've still got Scotty Miller. They've got enough guys, clearly enough depth in that receiver core to hang in there. And again, I think they do want to give the ball a lot more to Fournette. That'll be interesting to see if the O-line can create some holes. I just think that's right there. That's the key to the entire season. How they make that patchwork O-line work and if it will work.
Yeah, if it will work. And of course, it's not only the passing game, but the running game. And, our buddy Harry thinks that they're going to run the ball more because of Todd Bowles and his mentality. And I think that's certainly a possibility. That's the reason why I drafted him in the first place, because, 280 points projected to have there. And I think he's going to get lots of touches, but you're exactly right. White being the second running back, I think the Bucs have big plans for him, especially in that passing game. With that being said, they freed up $6 million yesterday with Shaq Mason. Could this be Gronkowski? Maybe not now, but eventually rejoining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you honestly think he's retired, Dennis, or do you think he's going to get that itch once the Bucs are in contention for a playoff spot that he comes back?
I don't know. Would that surprise you?
No, it's not going to surprise me because it's going to happen. That's the reason why we restructured the deal in the first place. And I tell you right now, I'm concerned about Gronk because not only he's a pass-catching threat, but what he brings to that offensive line as an inline blocker. And then, I like Kyle Rudolph, but he's no Gronk. He's going to be okay, but he's not going to be like Gronk. So that's kind of my biggest concern. What do they do offensively? And then, Godwin, to me, he had some interesting comments the other day on a podcast saying, look, in the grand scheme of things, it's not about if I play on Sunday night, it's if I play throughout the season, especially the stretch of what I missed last year. Although he was listed as a full participant on the injury list. So do you think he plays on Sunday night, or do you think the Bucs are a little cautious and they hold him out for a couple weeks?
I just don't know why you would even consider pushing it. What's the point of it, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to play. To me, would I have any problems him sitting for a couple of weeks? Absolutely not. We've said this before. This team could start 0-3. They could. They could also be 3-0. But considering they've got the Cowboys, they've got the Packers, and they've got the Saints on the road. They could. I think they'll probably end up being 2-1. But even if they were 0-3, it's a long season, and I just don't see it being a concern. Certainly not one. Chris Godwin is a really good receiver. Do you really think it's worth risking for a couple of weeks or 2 or 3 games where he's maybe a little he plays a little bit gingerly on it, or maybe he's a little not really confident with it yet? I don't know the answer, but I wouldn't have any problem with him sitting for a game or 2 at all. He was playing with a brace until last week in his leg.
Right.
So he just took that off, and he had his no contact jersey on for the longest time. I just don't see the point of it. I really don't. If they were going, their goal was to be undefeated, whatever. They can win 11 games and make the playoffs, and that's plenty of losses. So I'm not the least bit concerned about it. I personally would not play him. But they're going to do what they're going to do.
We'll see what happens. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. And of course, on my fantasy team, I took Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb. Okay. But here are my other backups. I got Mike Thomas from New Orleans. I got DeAndre Hopkins. I get it. He's suspended for the first 6 games, but I feel like once again, you can have that. And then of course, Sky Moore from the Kansas City Chiefs, because maybe he'll do something, maybe not early on in the season, but I think he may be a replacement for Tyreek Hill. With that being said, what is your biggest concern with the Dallas Cowboys? Obviously, it's Dak Prescott, but that offensive line is kind of a mess.
It is.
Tyron Smith, all-pro left tackle. Now you go to Tyler Smith. He was projected as a guard. He has to play left tackle. You move over Connor McGovern at the left guard spot. Really, this defensive line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could have an advantage, a major advantage on Sunday night.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's kind of a hot take. I think Zeke is done.
I do too. I think you're right, because if you look at his yards per carry the last 2 to 3 years, they have been dropping. And to me, in order for Dallas to take that next step, if they want to get over the hump of not only getting to the playoffs consistently, but getting out in the first round and having some semblance of a running game, you have to go with Tony Pollard. Just my opinion.
Yeah, and they're going to use both, and I get it. It's nice to have a little bit of speed and a little bit of power, but he's up there. He's not as old as you would think. He seems like he's been in the league for a long, long time. But once running backs, mostly when they get up to about 27, they start to go downhill pretty quickly. There's obviously got exceptions to the rule, but Zeke, the last couple of years, had some nagging injuries. He doesn't hit the hole like he did before. He's just not the same guy. He's getting older. Like you said, more than that is the fact that offensive line, I think, is weaker than it's been in years.
Yeah, I think probably, for me, I think that's an advantage. And I'll be curious to see what Vita Vea and, of course, Akeem Hicks, who, once again, our good buddy Harry the Greek, feels like he's an upgrade over in the Ndamukong Suh. So we'll see if that happens. But I think it's good for the outside guys like a Joe Tryon Shayanka, like a Shaq Barrett. In your opinion, who has more sacks on this team? Is it Shaq Barrett or is it JTS?
Boy, I don't know.
Tough question, huh?
It really is. I mean, Shaq Barrett just seems to be peaking. I mean, he was last year, and it just seems like there's something about that guy that to me, he's on the way up. I mean, JPP clearly has been around for a while, and he's a great football player. But to me, there's just something about Barrett that he's on the way up, and that is going to continue. But I mean, boy, who knows? I mean, I think at the end of the day, we always thought that if the defense could just keep the offense in the game, the offense is going to find a way to win the game. That didn't happen every time last year.
Yeah.
I mean, and it happened less than I thought it would. I think less than a lot of us thought it would. I mean, I think going back last year, there were several times where you just give Brady the ball late. You think that's going to be all you need. And it didn't always work out that way. No. I don't think it's that he's 45 years old or 44 years old. I just think we've always said it's very difficult to repeat in any sport. It just is. And it isn't a matter of having the talent, because they kept the talent last year that they had the previous year that they won the Super Bowl with, right?
Sure.
But there's something in a mindset that second year, maybe you're not quite as driven in general as a team as you are when you're hungry, which is why I think a team like Buffalo or a team like Cincinnati that can taste it, but they're not quite there, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we both know you get a team that's right on the cusp and they lose in a heartbreaking fashion. The next year they come back even stronger, which in my opinion is why I think Joe Burrow is going to be the MVP over Josh Allen. So how about that?
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot. That's good. That's good stuff there. And a lot of people love Joe Burrow and what he's done with the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, Harry the Greek feels like the Bengals won't even make the playoffs.
Really?
Yes. I need to get him on here. He does not think he thinks the Bengals are overrated. I think what they've done in the offseason has been tremendous. You get La'el Collins, of course, from Dallas. You get Alex Kappa to help that offensive line out, which, was under siege last year. Burrow gets hurt in the Super Bowl. I think you could possibly be right. I think Josh Allen, both of those quarterbacks are two of the best young quarterbacks in the league. But this is why I go back to Tampa. You just said it best. This team is hungry. They lost in heartbreaking fashion. And all these players have talked about, Dennis, in the offseason is how they still have that bad taste in their mouth from that Rams loss. You look at history. When Tom Brady loses, the year before, the year after, he usually wins a Super Bowl. So I think the Bucs are on the right track at this point. Of course, they got to get healthy. They got a tough schedule. At the end of the day, Vegas is having them right now at 11.5 wins. Where do you put them?
It's a good number. I mean, I wouldn't bet it. I wouldn't bet it. I think 11 wins is where they end up. So you don't bet that. I mean, there's better opportunities out there in other teams, I think. But and again, Vegas knows what they're doing the majority of the time. They put a number out, they're usually pretty close. So at the end of the day, I think your analysis is pretty accurate. I mean, I think they are hungrier than they were last year. I think Buffalo, I'll be really interested to see how Josh Allen does. I love the guy. Love him.
Right.
But they lost their offensive coordinator. And even though their quarterback coach has stepped in, you got to wonder if maybe that could have a little bit of an impact on that offense. I don't know. That's why they play it. We'll find out. And it's also why I'm really interested to see how the Giants do with Saquon and with Daniel Jones and with Kadarius Toney and, with everybody else. Sterling Shepard apparently is going to be playing now. I mean, again, I don't think the Giants are anything worth noting other than sometimes you get a new coach in there that really knows what they're doing, it can open up the offense a little bit. So that's, for me, why I probably went with Saquon as much as anything. I just think they're going to find a way to get him the ball, and in previous years they haven't. So we'll see.
It's got to be better than Joe Judge and the offensive coordinator they had there last year from the Dallas Cowboys. His name escapes me at this point, but want to go out to these comments. Dave says Giselle is back. Tom is going to be fine. Dave again says, I'm more concerned with the O-line than Tom missing 11 days. Fair enough. Christopher says, hey, what's up, everyone? Christopher again, sorry I'm late. Just got off the phone with my bestie for over 5 or 4 hours. Good stuff. No problem. Priorities, my friend. And not worried about Elliott at all. Probably the biggest weapon in this game, who killed the Bucs last year because they had an injury to SMB and had an injury overall to that back end with CD Lamb. Is that your biggest concern at this point in a CD Lamb?
Yeah, I think CD Lamb's going to have a breakout year. I mean, I do. I think he's set up for greatness this year. And I am not a Dallas Cowboys fan at all. But I just think this is his year. I think he's top 5. I think he'll end up a top 5 receiver and could easily be a top 2. I think a couple players. I think Romeo Doubs with interesting sleeper with Green Bay. You went to Nevada. I actually, believe it or not, I followed Nevada pretty closely because they were a fun team to bet on. And, I think at the end of the day, to me, CeeDee Lamb is going to be a top 2 or top 3 wide receiver this year for fantasy purposes. I really do. And it pains me to say that because I'm not a fan. But right. I think he's going to be that good. I really do. But I still think Gabe Davis is going to surprise. I would not be surprised if he outperforms Stephon Diggs.
I'm telling you right now, you look at that playoff game, and I get it, it's against the Chiefs, and they're not a great defense, but 4 touchdowns, he really showed out. And maybe I'm just watching things. He looked like, with the tattoos and the body, he looked like a young Mike Evans. Am I imagining things there? I mean, I know that's a lofty comparison, but that's what he looked like in that game to me. What do you say?
I think I remember seeing the stat that 13% of his receptions are touchdowns, which is just an astounding number. And I read that Josh Allen does not look at him as a second receiver or a number 2 receiver. He looks at him as a 1B receiver. And I really think Stephon Diggs last year, and I had him in fantasy, he was not the Stephon Diggs that he was. At least he didn't look to me that he had the same kind of explosiveness that he had in the previous year. And again, losing their offensive coordinator, I'm really interested to see how that's going to impact this offense. I really am. I have Gabe Davis in every one of my fantasy teams. So I'm clearly all in on him this year. So we'll see.
And I picked him up early last year. He didn't do much for me. I cut him, and then, of course, he started just to blow up. With that whole division, I mean, what's your take on it? You have Buffalo Bills, clearly the leader. You got New England with Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator. I mean, that he wasn't a great defensive coordinator, wasn't a great coach, and now he's the offensive coordinator of Mac Jones. I mean, is that going to work out? You have the Miami Dolphins, of course, Tua with Tyreek Hill and some of the additions they made, and then the Jets now starting Joe Flacco. I mean, what's your take on the AFC East? Is it Buffalo, or is there a team out there that you think could maybe challenge them? Possibly the Miami Dolphins?
If there's a team, to me, if there's a team, it's Miami, just because of their receiving core. Tua, seems like he maybe is starting to figure it out, but with Waddle and with Tyreek, their running backs are kind of a mess. You got Chase Edmonds and you got Raheem Mostert, and it's going to be by committee. But I just don't think anybody's going to touch Buffalo. I mean, I kind of like James Cook, by the way, as a second running back as well. Dalvin's brother, and but no, I mean, I don't. And Ramondre Stevenson with the New England and Damian Harris. You got a couple of guys who might really, really tough. I will just remember. What was the thing I used to always say? I would never. What was the one team or person I would never have on my fantasy team?
You would never draft any Buccaneer
Bucs running back.
Right,
Correct.
Which I made a mistake of doing, but look, he improved last year, so I feel
he
like
did.
And Todd Bowles, his defensive mentality, they're going to run the ball, try to take the pressure off of Tom Brady. May be wrong about that, But New England running backs, the same thing. You don't know
Exactly.
what you're going to get because they have running back by committee every year. They have Corey Dillon. That's probably the last guy I can remember. Maybe Sony Michel or LeGarrette Blount. I mean, but even those players, they had a mix of running backs. They never have a bell cow running back. Right?
And that was my point. That was the point I was about to make, because you can't. And even if they do, Belichick the next game will sit the guy who just had 200 yards and put somebody else in. You cannot figure out that team's running back. So I don't even try. But to answer your question at the end of the day, I just can't imagine Buffalo doesn't have a easy go of it in the AFC East. You know, the Jets are the Jets, even with Breece Hall. You know, Wilson may or may not be back. I mean, the Jets have some talent. I mean, Breece Hall could very well be a stud in a couple of years. A lot of people are touting him, but they're still the Jets. And until they're otherwise, I just don't see them being anything.
Anything, exactly. All right, we're going to Mike COC here. He says the Bills will run this. All right, so a lot of people feel like that. Tell you what, let's go division by division, and then we'll get you out of here. AFC North, you like Cincinnati to repeat there? Any challenger? Cleveland, of course, the Deshaun Watson situation has worked itself out. He's going to miss 11 games, so you're going to have Jacoby Brissett. Of course, you've got Pittsburgh with Mitch Trubisky being the starter there, and then of course, the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, which, the Ravens, same thing. The Ravens have issues with running back. Obviously, Dobbins, you know, is still kind of hurt. He'll probably be out for a few weeks. I mean, they picked up Kenyon Drake, right? Didn't they get Kenyon Drake?
I believe yes.
Because they're in such a bad shape. Now, I do think, Lamar, a lot of people have talking about Lamar is maybe considering a little less running, a little more throwing. Rashad Bateman is going to be their number one, and I've drafted him in several leagues as well because they got nobody else other than Mark Andrews, who's going to be probably a massive fantasy beast. I think he probably outperforms Kelsey this year. But, yeah, I mean, you got your Steelers, which, Pickens and Pickett will probably be involved with each other within the next 6 weeks because Mitch Trubisky is not going to continue to be that. Once Pickens and Pickett become a quarterback and a wide receiver tandem, I think they're going to be some pretty impressive numbers. But no, I mean, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers, I mean, come on. I mean, it's I don't care. Harry, that's a bold take. I mean, that is a bold take. And if he's right, more power to him. Harry knows his stuff. Harry's right about a lot of stuff. So maybe he's right on this one too. But I just don't see any way how the Bengals. Again, I already just said I think Joe Burrow is going to be the MVP. So what do you think? I think they win the Super Bowl. But
well, they certainly got the possibility because they improved the offensive line. Of course, they have wide receivers there. Not only
Higgins, Chase.
Yep, Chase and Higgins. They got plenty of weapons there, a plethora of weapons. They don't even talk about Joe Mixon. I think their defense is somewhat improved. Let's go out to Dave here. Buffalo and the LA Chargers are the Super Bowl favorites for the AFC. For me, I'll tell you what, let's go out to the AFC West. That seems to be very intriguing. In fact, I think it's the best conference in all of football right now. I mean, you have the LA Chargers with, of course, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, plenty of fantasy options there, even an Austin Eckler. But what they did defensively is scary to me. Khalil Mack on one side, if he could stay healthy, which is a big thing the last couple of years, but he could stay healthy here, Dennis. You have Joey Bosa. You added J.C. Jackson. You just re-signed to a new contract, Derwin James. To me, the Chargers are the team to beat in that division. And I would not be surprised, and I've said this as a bold prediction, that Kansas City actually finishes either third or last in that division. And I'll tell you why. Losing a Tyreek Hill is going to be a much bigger loss than people are putting a price on at this point. The Raiders are improved. They made the playoffs. Finally, Derek Carr has a guy like a Devontae Adams. And then, of course, you got the Broncos or Russell Wilson. How do you see this AFC West playing out?
It's my favorite division fantasy-wise. Start with the Chargers. You're right about the defense. Austin Eckler, obviously, great running back. I still think they're a little weak in receiver. Keenan Allen, very much an injury risk and getting older. Joshua Palmer, actually kind of a sleeper. Mike Williams had a breakout season last year, but he also had injury problems. So, I worry about the receiving core for the Chargers. I really do. But I think Justin Herbert, you're right. Matter of fact, that I probably made the wrong call, even though I did draft Burrow. In the 4th round, I looked at Herbert or Gabe Davis, and I went back and forth for like 30 seconds just an hour ago. And I finally went with Gabe Davis. And Herbert could be the MVP as well, by the way. And Derek Carr, I think it's going to have a huge year too. I really do, with Devontae Adams. But, you know, and then of course, the Broncos. Javonte Williams, even though he splits with Melvin Gordon, I don't think he's going to be splitting very long. I mean, you got to wonder if there's going to be an injury with Melvin. He's getting up there. Probably a 65-35 split. I think Javonte Williams is a beast. Last year, he had more yards after contact than any other running back in football. The guy is a bruiser, and he's a beast. So I love him. And then who else? Well, the Chiefs, obviously the Chiefs. So yeah, I mean, it's a fun division offensively. There's going to be a lot of shootouts in games involving the AFC West, I have a feeling.
How do you see it playing out? I mean, is that a possibility, or am I crazy here thinking that Kansas City could finish 3rd or be the 4th team in this division? I mean, you could have 3 teams out of this division alone make the playoffs. Could Kansas City be on the outside looking in? I mean, you have Travis Kelce, I get it, but then you have Juju Smith-Schuster, you have Marcus Valdez-Scantling, you know,
Sky Moore.
Yeah, Sky Moore. There's unproven. I get it. You got Travis Kelce, running back situation, but Patrick Mahomes. I'm just wondering what the impact of Tyreek Hill. I'll put this out to you. Tyreek Hill, is he going to perform as well as he did with Kansas City with Miami? What's more likely, that to happen, or Patrick Mahomes to continue to do what he's done with Kansas City without a Hill?
You know, Patrick Mahomes last year, there were some chinks in his armor. I mean, there were a lot of games where, and I lost a lot of money watching these games. You know, Mahomes, they were down by 8, 10, 11 at halftime, whatever. And I'm thinking they're going to come back and win. And there were a lot of games where Mahomes just did not get it done. And that was with Tyreek on the field. So you may not be off base at all. I mean, Russell Wilson, the Broncos believe in him. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got Cortland Sutton, both really good receivers. They both are injury problems. And boy, it always boils down to it. But I mean, Sutton's had horrible injuries, as is Jeudy. But, you know, Russell Wilson, you know, given the ball to Javonte and a couple of wide receivers that are pretty solid, even though they lost their tight end earlier in preseason, they're going to be a fun team to watch. So I think that's going to be a great division to watch. I don't know who's going to win. Well, I figure the Chargers probably, but you might be right. Maybe the Chiefs are really falling on hard times, not really having a solid number 1 running back, CEH and Ronald Jones. And
wait a minute, you say? Yeah, because look, I've been on this show and I've said the victim of volume, but he has not gotten better with his game. And there was talk he's 4th on the depth chart. He could have been cut. I don't necessarily think he's the answer. I don't know what the answer there in Kansas City situation is. So
yeah, you might be right. You might be right. They might be on the verge of tanking. Who knows?
All right, AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts. Are they the dark horse here? Because you got Matt Ryan, you have Carson Wentz last year, but you got Matt Ryan, who's a veteran quarterback. If you can protect him with that offensive line, you got some weapons there. And then defensively, you got Yannick Ngakoue and, of course, Stephon Gilmore. Could they be the scariest team, not only in the AFC, but the National Football League with adding Matt Ryan?
No. I mean,
Jonathan Taylor, no, you're not buying it?
No, I love Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman's going to have a breakout season with Ryan. Ryan is the kind of guy. By the way, remember what he did with Julio? Lots of receptions, but no touchdowns, at least at Julio. But Matt Ryan is solid. He absolutely is. But he's getting up there. And, by the way, as good as Jonathan Taylor is, Reich loves to try to move the ball around a little bit and tries to. And Himes is probably going to be involved. Himes is going to be involved in that. And I think at the end of the day, the Colts are going to be a solid team. As a matter of fact, in my lock pool, I took the Colts this week, which I hate taking a road team on any kind of a lock pool. But
sure. They're
playing Houston. What are you going to do? But yeah, I think they're good, but I don't think they're going to be even close because they don't have the depth. They don't have the depth that a lot of these other teams have. I mean, you're right. Jonathan Taylor, if they want to give him the ball like the Titans gave Derrick Henry the ball a couple of years ago, he has shown he can take that, at least up until now. But I just don't think they have the receivers on that team outside of Pittman to really be that. Oh, my phone's getting low now. I'm down to 5% battery. But I don't think they're going to have the receivers to take it to the next step. But certainly with Taylor, Ryan's not going to hurt him. He's better than Carson Wentz, but I don't think they get to the next level.
All right, really quick in that division, Tennessee, of course, they lose A.J. Brown to Philadelphia, Traylon Burks, they go with Robert Woods. Who's worse in that division, Jacksonville or Houston, and why?
Houston.
And then, yeah?
I mean, I like Dameon Pierce. I mean, a lot of people have talked about Pierce. I just think, the Jags, I don't know, they paid Christian Kirk $72 million. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't even understand that. But I would say, to me, I still think the Jags, I don't know. They might both be bad, but for some reason, the Texans, to me, feel like they're the worst team in football, even worse than the Lions.
Wow, there you go. NFC South, Peter King says New Orleans Saints are going to win in the division, and not only that, they're going to win the NFC. Where do you lie on this? I know we talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, still the Bucs division, or Saints, Carolina, and Atlanta?
Nah, it's the Bucs.
Right.
And my phone's going to die soon, but the Bucs in the South, the Packers in the North, with very close with the Vikings. The Vikings and the Packers are going to be really, really close.
Yep.
And I would go, obviously, the Rams in the West. And then in the East, probably the Cowboys and the Eagles right there as well.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. I know you got to run, my friend. So go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution. Once again, thanks a lot for the time on
My
the Sports.
pleasure. Hurricane season is here. We've got 2 hurricanes in the Gulf, in the Atlantic, a couple more that are brewing. So we'll be on 24/7 through the middle of October when the hurricane season starts to wind down. The season's been slow so far, but by the end of this month in October, it ain't going to be slow. So keep it right here and follow us on social. We'll let you know where all the tropical stuff is, because there's going to be some stuff out there. I have a strong feeling about that.
I swear, I just want to get on Dennis Phillips live one of these days, talk sports with you during a hurricane situation. Yeah. I know how busy you are. Thanks a lot, Dennis Phillips, for being on the Sports Web Live here on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and, of course, Amped Up Sports, all right?
All right, Peter, have a good one. Take care.
There you go. Good stuff there, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. I tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break because I need to rest these vocal cords, and when we come back, we'll take more of your phone calls and dive into maybe a little bit of wrestling here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Keep it locked.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about as our guests tonight have been killing it. How about Jason Powers on Sports Podcast? How about Dennis Phillips? As we always get you the best guests that we can, and we'll have more for you. And you just keep it locked here on Amped Up Sports. Of course, I Love St. Pete and the Hub. Let's go out to some of these comments. Roger Shue says, Dennis, what's up with hurricane season? He told you. I'll tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines. One of my favorite callers from Newport Richie, getting revved up for football season. Mr. Curtis, welcome to the Evolution. 4 days away, my friend. Bucks versus Cowboys. Your thoughts?
Why are we watching this game again?
Why are we watching this game again? Because it's football season. This isn't preseason. I need you to get pumped up, my friend. I talked to Ron tonight. He wasn't really pumped up. I need to have that energy from you. Go ahead. Give me some energy.
Yo, listen. You know how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I already think listen, I don't care if we lose every other game, which I know we're not, but as long as we beat Dallas, I don't care.
You don't care. You just want to beat Dallas. That's it.
Freaking hate
Dallas. I hate how about them Cowboys?
Oh my God. I do want to give out a shout out to my son's football team. I just came from that game. They 3-0.
Okay.
They just won their high school game. So.
Nice. Woo! Congratulations to your son's football team here from the Sports Web. We appreciate it. The update. How is he doing this year?
He's doing great. He's doing great, actually.
Really?
He's doing great. They won What was the score today? 20-14? 2014. Last week was 16-12.
Wow.
And the first game was 56-6.
Wow. Who does your son play for?
He plays for 5A and what is that?
It is Hudson, 5A. All right. Well, congratulations to your son. Tell him, you can always call the Sports Web and brag, and he's
Absolutely.
right, absolutely. But your thoughts on this game here? I mean, what are you most excited about?
I'm
First and
not
foremost, I got to ask you this. Are you as concerned as some fans and, of course, the talking heads out there, namely on ESPN and Fox Sports, about Tom Brady and his absence of those 11 days in training camp? Are you that concerned about it?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Because I mean, if you watched, I watched First Take this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen A. had Buffalo and Tampa in the Super Bowl.
And then I think that's going to be my choice too, to tell you the truth. I mean, for me, I'm buying into Buffalo, and I get it. Buffalo has a new offensive coordinator and a Ken Dorsey, but Josh Allen is tremendous. And you watched that game last year versus Kansas City. That was fun. That is a sign of things to come, my friend, with Josh Allen. Tremendous.
I think they are going to hurt the Rams' feelings tomorrow.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You think you're going to hurt the Rams' feelings tomorrow? All right. I like it. I like it a lot.
I think this is going to be a weird NFL season.
And why do you say that?
I just think that some of the teams that we're expecting to be good teams are not going to be as good as they are.
Well, do you agree with Harry the Greek, who believes that Cincinnati is not going to even make the playoffs? I mean, give me some of these teams that you think maybe falling by the wayside, maybe a little bit overrated.
Number one. That is a tough division. Let's just say that.
Yes.
Despite what anybody says, the Browns do have a pretty good team still.
Yeah, we'll see what the quarterback situation is. Of course, that worked out for itself.
Absolutely, but I tell you what, Jacoby Brissett, that kid is not bad.
It's not bad.
He's not.
Not great, but he's not bad. Okay.
He's going to win a couple games.
Sure.
Giving the ball to Nick Chubb, that defense is going to stand up. Then Lamar Jackson is going to. He's going to prove it there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to prove it there, and I'm praying that he goes out there and he plays like Lamar Jackson plays. It's going to be electric the whole season, and then the Steelers. I mean, they no matter what happens, every year they have a winning record.
Because Mike Tomlin gets the best out of that team. And he is one of the most underrated coaches in the National Football League. Let's just put it out there. He gets the most out of his team every year. Everybody thinks the Steelers are done. They lose wide receivers. They lose key players. And what they continue to do is win consistently. Maybe they don't win Super Bowls, but they are a playoff contender every year. Every year. And that is because of Mike Tomlin.
I think Tennessee doesn't make the playoffs this year.
I think it's certainly a possibility because I think Ryan Tannehill could be on his way out. That's the reason why they drafted Malik Willis. And then on top of it, you get rid of an A.J. Brown, which to me is a major loss. You're not going to convince me that Treylon Burks and Robert Woods are going to come in there and duplicate that production. I'm not buying it. I'm not.
I believe the Colts take that division. I'm definitely riding with Buffalo for that division.
Okay.
And I like the Chargers.
I do too. I love the Chargers.
And I'm going to tell you something. This is going to sound very strange, but I like Oakland over Kansas City.
Well, it would be, and I agree with you. I like Las Vegas too. But that's
Vegas.
all right. And I agree with you because I've come out here and said this on the Over Under and other shows on these networks and these platforms, and people look at me like, I stole money from them or something, or I killed their dog. I said Kansas City is going to be last in this division, and I'll tell you why. Because every team, in my opinion, has gotten better. The Chiefs have not gotten better. You cannot convince me, and I don't care if you have Patrick Mahomes, that you're going to be better off with a weapon like Tyreek Hill. There is going to be some cause for concern, in my opinion. I look at this division overall. The Chargers, I think, are the best team. You have the Raiders with Devontae Adams. Derek Carr finally has a number one weapon. Then on top of that, defensively, Max Crosby is one of the best young pass rushers in the league, and you put Chandler Jones right next to him. You kind of did what the Chargers did. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and then, of course, the Broncos. Russell Wilson. Let Russ cook. Let's see if he can cook, and they got a defense. So I don't think it's out of the
Um,
realm of possibility that Kansas City could be the last team in this division. Don't be surprised if you're talking about this on this show. Don't be.
but the push comes to shove. I see Buffalo coming out the AFC.
Okay.
Now the NFC, I don't see it like a lot of people see it. I definitely see Tampa. I see New Orleans as a wild card.
Okay.
If Minnesota beat Green Bay, they're going to take that division. They have to beat Green Bay.
I think, again, that's another team. For me, people just continue to say, Aaron Rodgers has a new contract and all this other stuff. He makes wide receivers out of nothing. They got some problems there. And you lose one of the best wide receivers in the league, if not the best wide receiver in the league, and you think that you're just going to duplicate that production.
I think Detroit surprised a lot of people this year. They don't make the playoffs. Surprised a lot of people.
Right.
I like San Fran over the Rams.
Okay. San Fran over the Rams. And you're buying into Trey Lance here, or do you think they go back to Jimmy Garoppolo eventually?
I think they go back to Jimmy, but that defense is always going to be that defense.
It's true.
That defense is a monster. People forget about that.
Yep. Well, especially Nick Bosa, if he can stay healthy. I mean, he's a man among boys. He can definitely cause havoc. That's for sure.
I don't like Dallas, but I respect Dak. I respect, the players that they have on that team. But
they don't have a second wide receiving option. Michael Gallup is still hurt. We don't know if he's going to come back. He's not going to come back for the Bucs game. He may be back in week 3. But what do you got out of those young guys?
I like Philly.
Okay, I like Philly too. I like Philly better than I like Dallas in that division. I do.
And here's where things are going to get real sticky.
Okay.
And people might not agree. I like Washington over Dallas. I think Dallas might finish 3rd in that division.
Wow, that's
and you know what? I'm going to tell you something even crazier. If the new head coach for the Giants, Gable, if that guy gets anything out of Daniel Jones,
right, Dayball,
Dallas might finish last in that division. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you go look at the Giants roster, they have talent. They have a lot of talent.
They have talent, but the problem is, Curtis, who's running it. You got Daniel Jones. Exactly. He is a turnover machine. I have not seen anything out of him. Plenty of potential. Right. That's what I'm thinking too. He's got everything that you want, but there's something wrong. Right.
If he can limit those turnovers,
correct.
It's going to be that's why I say it's going to be a crazy NFL season.
Well, it's been a crazy offseason, that's for sure, Curtis.
You never know what to expect, and I'm going to tell you this. I heard Dennis talking about 11 wins for the Bucs. I'm going to tell you something. Brady wouldn't have came back without coming back with a vengeance. He wants the Rams. He wants the Rams bad.
Of course he does.
He wants the Rams bad, and not only that, he wants the Saints real bad. Because he's got something to prove. Like just watching the documentary on this guy finds a reason to want to, in lack of better terms, destroy somebody.
Right.
Destroy another team. And I know, just from the competitor in him, he's probably got a blind hatred for the New Orleans Saints right now.
Definitely. He definitely has that. And I think, that's what you got to get over. That second game of the year. And I'm not trying to look ahead, but let's face it, Bucs fans, you got to win this division. It goes through New Orleans. Even though you won the division last year, you got to get over that hump during the regular season. You got to take care of business. You got to at least take one game, if not 2. I'm not buying this whole thing that, the Saints are going to be better or fine without Sean Payton. Sean Payton is a major loss. How many wins are you saying with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I'm going out there. I'm going to say 13.
13. Okay, so they matched last year's record of 13-4. What is your biggest concern, and what are you most looking forward to, not only on Sunday night but during this season?
I don't have a concern. I listen. I have one concern.
Okay.
And everybody knows what it is. It's injuries. I'm not worried about the offensive line because I'm going to tell you something. Brady knows where he's throwing. 9 times out of 10, he knows where he's throwing the ball before he hikes the damn ball.
Right.
2 seconds. 2.5 seconds.
Boom.
The ball's gone.
Right.
And listen, I know we're missing Gronk, and I know he's a big target, but I'm going to tell you something. This team has an abundance of weapons. Like, the Super Bowl year.
Well, and I tell you right now, I mean, just think about it, Curtis. You got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, and you got Julio Jones on the field together, and possibly Russell Gage if he can get his hamstring. You know that eventually all those wide receivers are going to be on the field together. Then on top of it, you have Cam Brate and Kyle Rudolph. Right. I mean, it's no slouch. He's no Gronk, but he's no slouch. Right.
And that I'm gonna tell you something. That kid behind, what's his name?
Rashard White. Yes. Love him.
I like that. I like him.
Love him a lot. If he can,
I like him a lot.
He can't put the ball on the ground. He did that in preseason. I get it's preseason, but when he gets to those game situations and the Bucs are looking forward to him and they're going to put him in that game plan, he's not only got to catch the ball consistently, but he cannot turn it over because he turns over the ball and you're going to hear Keyshawn Vaughn in the folder or Giovanni Bernard.
I look at it like this. When Jamar Chase signed with Cincinnati, he had no catches in the preseason.
Agree.
Dropped every ball that was at him in the preseason.
I agree.
Every single one of them.
Yep.
So, I mean, I definitely feel like it's going to be a very interesting NFL season. And I'm ready.
Hey, look, I'm ready too. So your final prediction, 13-4. What are you saying the score is going to be the Sunday night?
I'm going to go 42-21 Tampa.
All right, 42-21.
I'm going with a blowout.
A blowout. I like it. All right, Curtis. Anything else here on the Evolution?
No, I might call you back, though, because I just got home and I'm getting myself settled, and I'm going to continue listening.
All right, man. Sounds good. Definitely use that second call. Appreciate it. As always, let me give you the Byron Leftwich.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Let me give you the Ric Flair. Woo! Appreciate it. As always, one of my favorite callers out there, favorite webheads, Mr. Curtis. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Roger here. Oh, we went out to him already. You talked about the hurricane season, and you say, go Bears. I'm interested to hear from you. Because I was on 1252 tonight talking about the Chicago Bears and that situation. And if you're a Bears fan, are you feeling good about what they did in this offseason? You hope that they didn't get your franchise quarterback killed. Because I still claim that offensive line isn't that great. And I don't think they put Justin Fields into a great situation at this point. In fact, I think they've set him up to fail. Just my opinion. Over under 5 wins, I think Vegas, I go under. Sorry. Fire the cannons then as we shall. So give me a call. What do you think about this Bucs matchup versus the Dallas Cowboys? What are you looking forward to? What is your biggest concern with this Bucs team? Give me a prediction for Sunday night's game. Give me a prediction for the season, or if you want to talk about your favorite NFL team here on the Evolution, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Micah Parsons talking about the great Tom Brady. He says, you just see his competitive nature. He has that fire inside of him. I mean, he looks to kill you. He wants to step on your throat like you're a roach, and that's what you look for in competitors. I think that's why if you're a real competitor, you look up to Tom Brady. You look up to Kobe Bryant, that Mamba mentality. You look up to Michael Jordan. I talked about this, that competitive fire that is always reigns supreme in Brady and these athletes. I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. You look at those type of mentalities. We aspire to be that fierce or be that strong. You got to be a real strong-minded person to be who you are, and for Tom to do that in New England and do it with the Bucs, I mean, he inspires me even though I'm on defense. So saying some good things, but make no mistake about it, Parsons is a concern. He's definitely a concern. Now, we've talked about it on this show, not necessarily the best in coverage, but when it comes to stopping the run or getting after the quarterback, he's great at it. That's why he was the defensive rookie of the year last year. So that's why that offensive line is so important. Brady all-time is 6-0 versus Dallas, the most wins without a loss against the Cowboys by starting quarterback. If the Buccaneers win Sunday, Brady would join Randall Cunningham, 8 straight from 87 to 92. Listen to this. Frank Ryan, 7 from 63 to 66, is the only starting quarterbacks to defeat the Cowboys in 7 straight starts, according to ESPN. Parsons goes on to say, we got to get him out of this league. He's been dominating this league too long. He keeps coming back. It's a blessing to still be able to play him, just to go see his work ethic, the time that he puts in the game, that his body can withstand this long. He also calls him a superhero. So there you go. We'll see what happens on Sunday night between the Bucs and the Cowboys. What is your biggest concern? What are you looking forward to? Prediction, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Going back to more comments here. I've seen the Hulk get beat up. Captain America get beat up, but they always get up. Brady gets beat up, and he always gets up. So there you go, comparing him to that. I told you we would talk a little bit of wrestling because we don't have our guys tonight. Mark Mancini and the bodyguard of the Berg, Ralph Williams, will have them next week. But lots of things going on in the wrestling world. I tell you what, let's take a quick break. Let's hear from CM Punk on this press conference. There is a little bit of language in it, but this was him and his tirade. I still think this could be a work, although when we come back, we'll tell you the repercussions of what he had to say here on the Evolution. Here we go.
Okay, so you fancy yourself a journalist. Would you say you're friends with Scott Colton? So you're not friends with him? Oh, wow. Well, that makes 2 of us. My point is, if you fancy yourself a journalist, even if it's for the silly world of professional wrestling, and you have journalistic integrity, people who report things mostly that are bullshit and slanderous lies against myself, if you are friends with somebody, you blew my spot. If you're not friends with them, I apologize. But you should probably disclose who you're friends with. I haven't had anything to do with Scott Colton in almost a decade. Probably wanted nothing to do with him even longer than that. It's fucking unfortunate that I have to come up here and speak on this when I'm on my time and this is a fucking business. Why I'm a grown-ass adult man and I decide not to be friends with somebody is nobody else's fucking business. But my friends, if I fall backwards, will catch me. Scott Colton, I've felt never.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to end this off because it does have some curse words in it. But basically, he went off. Scott Colton is Colt Cabana. This whole situation was from Sunday night after CM Punk won the world championship, beating, of course, Jon Moxley. He went off. He went on to basically call out not only Colt Cabana, but also the EVPs, which in this case are Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Matt, and Nick Jackson. He basically, so he just called these guys out. And then afterwards, there was supposedly a fist fight. Well, to that point, on what happened tonight on Dynamite, is CM Punk was stripped of the AEW World Championship. In fact, there is talk that he may no longer be with this company. That's how fast or far this has fallen. And then on top of it, the Elite, of course, which consists of, once again, Kenny Omega and, of course, the Young Bucks have been stripped of their titles. So lots of things going on in AEW right now. I thought it was a work at first, but you could see there's real emotion there by CM Punk. Of course, he's had previous problems with WWE. He's had previous problems with Colt Cabana. So he was upset with that whole process. Tell you what, let's go out and read these comments really quick. Who is the kid we drafted out of Michigan? Once again, that's Luke Gedecki, the left guard. And Christopher Cole says, biggest concern is health. What I'm looking forward to is seeing how dominant this defense can be. And the AEW title and Trios title was vacated tonight by Tony Khan. Yes, exactly. That's what we're getting to at this point. So not only have they vacated the title after CM Punk beat Jon Moxley, but also the tag team championship. And again, just calling out not only Kenny Omega and the Bucks, but also Hangman Adam Page. Tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines. I know he wanted to talk about this. Let's go out to Curtis. Curtis, welcome to the Evolution. I know you want to talk some wrestling here. So what are your thoughts on this?
Dude, I'm sitting here listening, and I was just waiting for anybody to chime in, and I was like, I got to call.
All right. Give me your comments here.
I've been watching wrestling for a long time, as long as I've been watching football.
Right.
Okay? For me, it goes hand in hand. Okay, a lot of those guys that don't make it in the NFL, they go to wrestling, they go to other stuff.
Right.
CM Punk is probably one of the most talented wrestlers, all-around wrestlers,
by far,
that I've ever seen,
by far
in my life,
by far. Absolutely agree with you.
It seems like he's starting to become a cancer.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm gonna tell you right now. But some of the things he was saying, were not necessarily untrue. I mean, Colt Cabana, he's had nothing to do with this guy. They said basically the reason why he hasn't been appearing on TV or went to Ring of Honor, which of course Tony Khan owns now, is because of CM Punk. And then on top of it, think about it, put yourself in his shoes. If you have wrestlers like Adam Page, Young Buck, Kenny Omega coming out and talking about this guy and saying, well, he's the reason why Colt Cabana isn't on television, I think, of course, you feel like you've been stabbed in the back. And, just coming out and saying about Colt Cabana. My problem was I wanted to bring a guy with me to the top that did not want to see me at the top. You can call it jealousy. You can call it envy, whatever the F it is. My relationship with Scott Colton ended long before I paid all of his bills. I have every receipt, have every invoice, have every email. I have the email where he says, I quote, agree to go our separate ways. I will get my own lawyer. You do not have to pay anymore. That's an email that I have. The only reason the public did not see it is because I finally had to countersue him through discovery. We discovered he shared a bank account with his mother. That's a fact. He also goes on to say about Adam Hangman Page and, of course, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. What did I ever do in this world to get to deserve an empty-headed, effing dumb F like Hangman Adam Page to go out on national television and effing go into business for himself? For what? What did I ever do? I didn't do a GD thing. I mean, this is Punk. Right.
My thing is this.
Right.
I have not. I catch some AEW every once in a while.
Sure.
But I'm not fully up to date on it.
Correct.
Not. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on in the ring and behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes has been, and I'll tell you right now, this is not the only thing that's happened with AEW. I mean, Eddie Kingston got suspended. Once again, CM Punk is suspended. All these guys have been suspended at this point. So there's a lot of chaos going on. And instead, the story should be not only CM Punk winning the title over Jon Moxley, which was a hell of a match, but then the Joker being revealed that it's MJF and that's your match going into it. Now you have no idea what's going on. So I think it's kind of, you're right in a way that CM Punk is kind of taking away from the business. We know how much he cares about it. I understand his point of view, but right now is the worst time for all of this.
Well, especially because, when he originally left the WWE, he was all about making sure that everybody was, damn near treated equal and everybody got their fair share and stuff. But it seems to me, and I love CM Punk. Before I even say this, I'm going to let it be known. I love the guy. I love how he rocks the mic. I love that he's a great wrestler. I care that he cares about his companions in the ring. But I also get the thing where I feel like sometimes he thinks he's bigger than wrestling.
Right.
And, listen, anything you do, you're supposed to think that you're the best.
Sure.
I don't take that away. But if you're continuing to have the same problems over and over and over again, let's look who is the equation in the problem.
CM Punk. It's absolutely CM Punk. You're absolutely right about that. And I thought about it tonight, going and trying to address this because, this is, and then on top of that, Malachi Black has asked for his release and received his conditional release. Of course, he was in the House of Black. They just got done losing to Sting, Darby Allin, and of course, Miro. And the problem with AEW is, as much talent as they have all these factions. You have to make all these parties happy. You're paying all this big time money. Tony Khan is the only one that's running it. He really doesn't have a lot around him. And this article from Sports Illustrated kind of put it best. Vince McMahon, yes, he was the one guy. He was the creative genius of it. But he had people around him. He had other people around him to go to. I don't necessarily know if Tony Khan does that. And, keep in mind, CM Punk is doing this while the owner is sitting right next to him. And it's probably one of the most uncomfortable situations you've ever seen in your life. And then I think it's disappointing that Malachi Black is now most likely headed back to WWE. It's almost like everything, the momentum of this wrestling war has shifted and is all going towards WWE.
Absolutely. But let's call it what it is. Triple H is doing a great job.
Correct. He is.
He's doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I'm going to tell you this. There's so much talent in the WWE. I don't think that 3 shows is enough.
Well, look, Triple H, what he did with NXT and what he's done over the last month and a half has been tremendous. I mean, he's given people reason to care again. He brought back Braun Strowman the other night. Dexter Lumis has come back into the fold. There's a genuine interest in wrestling again when it comes to WWE, and that's because of Triple H. He knows the business, and he's the perfect guy to take over the business.
Look, I'm going to say this, and I can see it happening soon. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I can see SmackDown going to 3 hours.
Well, see, that to me is a mistake. You got to keep it at 2 hours. I think we're saturated with wrestling. I think that's the reason why Raw isn't that great, right? I mean, and I think you go back to it. You go back to WCW's heyday, right? And they wanted to compete with WWE and WW Raw or WWF Raw. They went to 3 hours. The product kind of dropped. I think if you keep it 2 hours, you're okay. And I think, that's what Triple H is going to consider. But I agree with you. They got lots of talent. They're going to have plenty of storylines. I'm interested to see what they do with Roman Reigns and who he's going to fight at WrestleMania.
I seen a TikTok video the other day.
Yeah.
With Triple H.
Right.
And, he was talking about The Rock, and he was like, listen, The Rock is probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Sure.
And he said, he's making millions of dollars out there in Hollywood, which everybody knows he is. He's doing his thing out there in Hollywood. But the one thing that he'll never have is that electricity running through his veins or his body when he's sliding his elbow pad off in the middle of the arena with 100,000 people chanting his name. He loves it.
Yeah, of course he does.
And all those guys love it. And, I'm like, God, that just makes so much sense. And so, he was basically saying that, he would love to see Roman and The Rock for the next WrestleMania coming up.
Yeah.
But see, me, I look at it as Cody should be back.
Well, to me, it's Cody. I mean, and I think as much as everybody wants to see The Rock, Triple H has a mind for the business. At the end of the day, the storyline should be Cody comes back from this major injury and he wins the title, and then Roman probably goes off into Hollywood. I think that's probably the perfect ending at this point because, I don't know how long you could do this storyline. And Roman has been tremendous with the bloodline and everything else, holding the title for this long, but people start to get tired of it. It starts to, become stagnant, and you can't have that. And I think that's the most exciting thing with Triple H. And of course, Dominic Mysterio turning on his father the other night and Edge.
Yep.
We could all see that coming. I mean, there's so much interest in this wrestling organization right now. And I'm not saying I'm not watching AEW, but it looks like a mess. It's a mess right now there. A mess.
I'll tell you what, I see it this way, Pete. I see Cody coming back for the Royal Rumble, winning the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
and he does what everybody else does. He wins the Royal Rumble. He doesn't have another match until WrestleMania. When he gets to WrestleMania, he'll be fully healthy.
It's a good point. It's definitely a good point. I think it certainly could happen at this juncture. It's good stuff. Good stuff, Curtis. Anything else? I mean, you still watching AEW? Does this make you want to watch AEW? I kind of want to watch AEW because
you want to watch it.
I feel like it's a work.
Watch it
right.
To see what's going on.
Correct.
But you're like, come on, man. Come on.
You know, the
And
perfect storyline would be if CM Punk goes back to WWE and the last match for Triple H's career is versus CM Punk, because that in itself, just off the, and I know Triple H said he was retired and you never do it again, but
I think he would definitely come. I think there's 2 matches Triple H would come back for. He'd come back for The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come back for CM Punk.
Good stuff.
We don't want to see him and Cena anymore.
No.
We've seen that so many times.
Over and over again. I don't want to see it again.
It definitely would be like you said. God, I know I got to let you go, but I'd like to see Punk and Roman.
Punk and Roman is certainly a possibility. I think that could be something that they look at if CM Punk is willing to go back to WWE, and never say never, especially in this business. Good stuff. Let me go ahead and give you the Ric Flair woo. Woo! Appreciate you, Curtis.
What time Sunday?
What time Sunday? That's a great question. I'll tell you what, I will post it on Facebook. I'm not sure where I'm going to be yet. I'm not sure what time I'm going live, but I will let you know, my friend. You will be the first to know here, Curtis from Newport Richie. All right,
man. I appreciate you. All my Bucks fans, let's go Bucks. Let's have a great season and keep watching my man Pete. Bling, bling, Blake, baby.
I love it. There you go.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Good stuff, Curtis. Thanks a lot for the call. As always, I tell you what, we'll wrap it up right there. So I told you we wanted to talk a little wrestling, break down the Bucks, break down the rest of the National Football League. Thanks to all the guests tonight. Mr. Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, No Quarter Given podcast. If you want to talk about Bucks and Bucks history and the matchup this week, Paul Stewart does a phenomenal job there, so check that out. And then, of course, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. We'll be back soon in a couple days. I'll be out at the USF game, USF versus Howard. That game starts at 7. So watch for some type of pregame show. Yours truly, Leo Haggerty. You never know who's going to make it to the scene, and we'll let you know what happens on Sunday as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Dallas Cowboys. 3 things to wrap up this happy
Hump Day
edition. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. 4 more days until Bucks versus the Cowboys. Are you ready?
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.